Everyone, Sean Plays here. I've got a... Hold on, let me fix that feedback. Alright, that should fix the feedback. So sorry I have a camera in the way of my camera, because today is mods. Hopefully a couple mods, a quick hopefully what will be relatively quick on the UltraHDMI, and I'll kind of explain why there's an update on that. It's just something I've been meaning to do for a while. And also, I did get one of the first batch N64Digitals that were sold to the public. I'm finally hoping to install that tonight. It does depend on how well things go with the UltraHDMI mod, to be fair. I may end up doing this tomorrow night, but I really want to do it tonight. I'm really tired of having this and the DC Digital sitting around, and I also have the Xbox HD sitting around too that I need to finish. So yeah, hopefully I get all this wrapped up soon. There's more fun stuff coming. I did get a triple bypass board from Insurrection Industries for my Model 2. Well, I mean, it's for any Model 1 or Model 2 Sega Genesis. I'm using it for a Model 2. I don't know if it works on the Model 3. It doesn't matter. I have a Model 2, and I plan to install that. But I need to double check things before I install it, because I think I read it disables composite video out, which wouldn't be the end of the world if that doesn't cause the 32X to lack composite video out. But I might wait to do that one until I get a RetroTink 5X or something else that can handle RGB, and definitely won't touch it until I get my retro access cables that I finally was able to get ordered. And that's not it's just the way retro access, they have a limited amount of bandwidth for making cables, and I was finally able to get in there and order some when they had orders open, and I'm very excited for that. They make great cables from everything I've heard, so I'm sure I'll talk about that in a future video. But first and foremost, of course, this video, like everything else, is not sponsored by anyone. I do have my UltraHDMI equipped, if I can work my hand, my UltraHDMI equipped N64 here. And what you may notice if you're looking, if you caught it and on that brief expose there, is it's actually I did the no cut mod. So here's it working. Everything's still working great. This is Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, which recently found my old cartridge, and so it's kind of exciting that it still has my saves from way back when this game came out. And man, I love how this looks. It's so delightfully late 90s 3D. Yeah, you can run this on an emulator and have it at 8K if you have a screen and a video card that can handle it, but these games do not upscale like that very well. I think this is such a great way to play this. So why am I messing around with the HDMI, the UltraHDMI further? And it's really because the I did the no cut mod, and the thing that there's two things that I want to change here. The one is the no cut mod. So let me unplug everything. I'm gonna explain what the no cut mod is. So the no cut mod, essentially you take out this plastic piece and replace it with a 3D printed one, and that way you can mount so the HDMI output port doesn't actually require cutting underneath. But the problem with this mod is it doesn't let you run simultaneous composite or S-video or RGB output, because these cables generally, even though I have some relatively cheap third-party cables here in addition. I do have the original somewhere, but it really just does not quite fit. It's a lot of pressure on the sockets and ends up being an unreliable connection if you try to plug in both. So that's one reason, and related to that is there's a couple things that I don't like about the mod this way. Is I had to leave the shielding out, the bottom shielding, which probably isn't a big deal. I haven't had any problems with the system, but I also had to leave out the RGB mod, which I paid money for, even though I don't have any way to use it. I paid money, I got this mod. I would like to install it, and one day, hopefully I'll be able to test it. That day will probably be when I get a RetroTink 5X or an OSSC, or maybe I'll find some component cable so I can actually try it on a CRT. The only CRT I currently have is a 16:9 HD CRT Sony Vega, and the trouble with those, with any HD TV, is that generally N64 looks like garbage if you output, at least I don't know about if you go to component RGB, but definitely my experience on N64 and an RGB TV has been incredibly bad. It just looks so bad because it really interprets it as a 480i signal, and so there's huge gaps between the lines. It just looks awful. So yeah, so I want to get this put together just a little bit differently. So this will, this is like flickering away on me already on this camera. I swear these things just don't always have the bandwidth they need. But we'll do what we can. Sorry, I can hear people. I have the window open since I'm going to be soldering, and I can hear people at the bar across the street from my neighborhood, because they, I mean, they're loud. I probably should just be at the bar instead of doing this, but that's not really my thing. I'm just a big nerd. So we'll start by, and I do have the microscope, and yeah, I'm hoping that the camera will more or less hold out for the night for this, but my other webcam broke, the one I was using, and my computer does not seem to like running two Logitech Brios at the same time. And the other webcam I don't have a way to mount very well for this, so I wonder. Sorry, I hate to do this midstream, but it's just getting worse. I'm just going to see if I can use a slightly different webcam for the a totally different webcam for the I'm going to see if I can get this other webcam to kind of hang out and work from my desk. So bear with me for a moment, since this one is flaking out on me. And I just don't think it's going to be a very good experience for people. And I'll just drop this one and break it, so then I will have no webcam for the desk. That'll be terrific. Oh, I love having this sort of stuff. Okay. Let me switch this over to a different webcam for the desk. All right. We got some desk. There we go. This one is not as nice of a webcam, but at least it's zoomed in more so we can all see what's going on. And let's not forget, we gotta start by removing the we gotta start by removing the expansion pack or jumper pack before we disassemble. Alright, so that is done. That will be about the easiest part of the whole thing. Got our handy dandy game bit so that we can open everything up. Then also, once everything's open, there'll be one other thing that I didn't like from the last install that I'm gonna fix. And as usual, I have my iFixit tools. Do help me make fairly quick work of these things. And no, I'm not sponsored by them or anyone. That would sure be nice to someday be sponsored, but let's face it, I'm pretty inconsistent right now with doing anything on this channel. Once I get this open, I'm actually going to go grab a drink from the fridge. It is probably worth noting for anyone who missed the previous video, this is actually one of the few HDMI Ultra or Ultra HDMI Hardware 2 kits. And that's why it has the RGB. These are nice kits. I suspect the Pixel FX Co. will be nicer, but these are really nice kits. Just like that, the top comes off. I'm going to grab that drink. I'll be right back and then I'll show you what I'm updating. Alright, I'm back. Just realized it's already 11 o'clock here. So hopefully I'll get through everything. Try my best. Let's see. I gotta remember which screws to do here, because you don't need to do all of the screws. That's something that's really important to remember. I do have the guide over here on one of my other monitors. But it's actually really important to remember you just don't have to undo every single screw. I made this so much worse because now I have the cable in the way. Like I have a camera and a cable, whoa. And I'll just run the camera into my LCD. I'm gonna break everything tonight, trying to make things better, and instead I'm just breaking them. All right. Fortunately, Nintendo doesn't make you use the game bit for everything once you're actually inside. Let's start by removing the screws of the AV and power. And since I have the iFixit stuff, what you can't really see over here, and actually before I remove these, I'm going to grab my X-Acto knife and mark where I need to file to fit the HDMI plug into the cut mod. Okay. That is now marked. So I'll be filing away there. Sorry, I know this camera cable is really in the way of my face, but I know no one's here to see my face, so I'm sure it's probably relatively okay. And off to the side here, I've got a, you kind of see it right here. This is the iFixit magnetic project mat. And this is kind of cool because it's magnetic. It has some squares in it. You can write on it with a dry erase marker and helps you remember where things came from, so it's easier to put things back together. Kind of a cool idea. Now, by doing the no cut mod previously, what we found out, and we had a lot of, it was a very frustrating thing on the channel. This is one of the problems with the UltraHDMI mod, is that I don't know if it's changed. I'm using the instructions from GameTech's website, which were actually the instructions from the original hardware, not hardware 2, as far as most of the install. What that doesn't tell you is how to install the RGB, since that wasn't even an option on the original. And what we found out was the no cut mod, because it lifts this board up. There's a spacer underneath that lifts it up. That not only can you not fit the shielding in, you can't fit the cable. You can't route the cable correctly. You can't fit the daughter board and the cable that you need for RGB. So you just can't have RGB from what I can tell with the no cut mod. And since I didn't know at the time, I wasn't sure if I'd be able to get an N64 Digital. I wasn't sure if we'd ever see these again. We really didn't. There's so much we didn't know about these at the time, that I just went all out on this purchase and got that RGB board, just so I could have everything as complete and nice as possible. And really, in hindsight, that was really unnecessary. I did get an N64 digital kit, and not only did I get one, there's more coming next month that'll be up for order. So, for anyone who's looking to do this mod, fortunately, you will be able to get the Pixel Co. The Pixel Co. mod looks like soon, and they're going to keep making them as long as there's a demand, is my understanding. So, don't go pay obscene prices on eBay for a kit. Definitely don't get taken for a ride for that stuff. Remember, if you're just a little patient, you will get one. They are making plenty. The guys at Pixel Co. have a good track record, having already done so many other things for the retro community, like the PS1 Digital and the DC Digital. I just think it's such an exciting time for retro gaming right now because of the ODEs and the HDMI mods and scalers and RGB mods, and it just seems to keep going. And then if that's really not your bag, you want something that's simpler but still is an original hardware-like experience on modern hardware. There's the Mister. Mr. FPGA is looking pretty nice. I have not gotten one myself yet, but I am looking forward to getting one eventually. Excuse me. Nice, this one little screw would come out. There we go. Get that later. It's just the N64 does have a lot of screws. I won't complain about that. I think that's possibly part of why Nintendo always seems to have such great build quality and durability. And Joy-Con drift aside, I mean, Nintendo's had their issues, but we've seen Game Boys that have been in fires and still more or less work, even though they're partially melted. They still work in that the screen still sort of displays stuff, and they actually load a game and play a game, even though the controllers may not work anymore. And this is definitely from back in that era of Nintendo. So we'll carefully remove this. Assuming I got everything I needed to remove, which it looks like I did. There we go. Boom. Okay, so that is the whole heat shield thing removed. There's that last screw I couldn't get out. That's okay. And so this brings us to the other problem that I want to fix today. I'm gonna, there we go, ribbon cable removed. Gonna lift the motherboard out. All right, we'll put the no cut mod piece aside. We'll put the bottom to the side for the moment. I'm gonna bring on the microscope. So, a little blurry, but I'm gonna fix that right up by making it blurrier. So these two capacitors are where the N64 Digital, or sorry, the UltraHDMI pulls power from. Now, this little hodgepodge wire is not really intended to be that way, but it was the cap on the right there is actually physically lower, like closer to the bottom of the picture there, than the one on the left, and that made it so I was unable to solder this this piece here to that pad. And so what I'm hoping to do today is clean this up by removing the funny little extra thing I did, which honestly I probably shouldn't bother. It's working great. I just like clean installs, and I would like it to be a nice clean install there. And something I did get since my last mod stream is I got hot tweezers, and you know, might as well give them a shot. And sorry, all of a sudden I couldn't hear myself, which is just weird. There we go. I pushed something on my mixer I didn't mean to. As usual, the stream is going fantastic because it's not amateur hour or anything. So as I said, I got the hot tweezers. I, of course, have my usual soldering iron as well. I'm waiting for the hot tweezers to heat up. Wow, they say they're heated up already. I haven't even used these once yet, so I do have to tin them. And I'm gonna get my other soldering iron plugged in since I somehow did not do that beforehand. Okay. That's loud. Alright. So first things first, I'll try to make quick work of this. And then we'll move on to the first things first. I have done a horrible job routing cables tonight. I don't have a dedicated workbench. Oh, sorry, and I do not like breathing in all this lead and other fumes, so I had a mask here. I'm gonna put on a mask. And hopefully it won't mess up my microphone too badly. Keep the microphone outside the mask, and hopefully I still sound relatively okay. But fortunately, these masks aren't too bad about fogging up glasses, so I should be okay. Alright, so I'm going to tin my soldering iron. Ooh. Oh, that was weird. So I'm fixing this so that we can enjoy every bit of this, more or less. There we go. Okay, so I have not used these, like I said, so I just kind of gotta pre-tin this a little bit. And then I'm going to use the regular soldering iron to remove this. And I'm going to grab some tweezers. Alright, handy dandy iFixit tweezers. I'm just going to start by removing this piece. Maybe this is not melting as fast as I would have expected. we go. And remove the other piece. Can't see on the microscope. There we go. All right. That is taken care of. That's the first step. And I have a rosin pen. I'm going to actually just clean that up a little bit. It looks a little bit better. All right. So now on to the fun. So here's the part where hopefully everything works out, because I had to undo that to do the next piece. So I want to use the hot tweezers to remove this capacitor and just move it. I just want to move it up a little bit. So I have applied some flux, and there's that capacitor on the microscope. And the whole thing with the hot tweezers, I'm actually going to turn this around. Sorry, hopefully don't singe that cable. But with the hot tweezers, and I'm not going to be able to get this where I can see it on the microscope very easily, I don't think. Okay. But with the hot tweezers, what I can do is hopefully heat this up on both sides simultaneously, not damage anything, and just move it. And that's easier said than done no matter what, but we're going to try. I'm not sure that we're going to be very successful. What I'm worried about is that I'm going to end up damaging this capacitor since this is not going super smooth. Yeah, it's not going great. We're going to try again to solder this to the pad. Where it's where the directions originally wanted it in the first place. And hopefully I didn't destroy that capacitor. That would be terrible. It is so hard to tell if that's connected. I think it is. But of course, it doesn't mean I didn't just destroy a capacitor. That's okay. We're going to move on. If I destroyed a capacitor, I'll buy a recap kit and we'll have a video of me recapping things. So the hot tweezers were not getting quite the job done there for me. So we're done with soldering for a bit, so I'm going to remove this. Okay, so the next thing, before we are going to solder in the the RGB ribbon cable, but I'm actually going to attempt to test this. In case I did not get a good connection there, or in case I've destroyed a capacitor, both of which would be bad. I kind of doubt that I destroyed the capacitor. Now, of course, when you're testing like this on the N64, one thing you want to make sure you don't do is run it for too long without that shield on top. You got to run it pretty sparingly without that shield, because that does provide a lot of heat dissipation. It's basically a big heat sink, and in addition to being a shield. We're just going to go straight for the money. Make sure this is still working. Got power, got everything but a game. Okay, everything's plugged in. Oh wow, we're good. Hopefully it'll stay down. Cool. So we're good. So we actually even need to move that capacitor. We just need to do a better job soldering that. There's something along those lines. Some of these things just, they're scary to do. Alright, we'll remove all of our connections again. We'll remove the expansion pack again. We're going to pop this open. Boom. Okay. So now we're ready to do a couple things. Like I said, we're going to switch this to a cut mod. And so what that means is taking out this spacer, and then this board will sit lower, and because of that, it needs to be filed away there. So I know this is probably a little boring, but we'll try to make quick work of it to file that out nice and neat. I got a little file set that I picked up at Home Depot just for this sort of work. So hopefully this works pretty well. And also, we can possibly make some of this a little faster, but I don't know how much, because I don't know how much we really need to be cutting away here. Fun little ground things for the like 20 people that have an N64DD. And while one day I might get an N64DD, I really think that might have been one of the worst peripherals to ever come on the market. I think it's actually worse than the 32X. And I'm sure someone out there doesn't appreciate me saying that, but the 32X had a much better library of games despite having so few games. It was just such an odd time for gaming in some ways back in the 90s. Hey John, yeah, I'm playing back with the mods. Right now I'm trying to get the N64 digital turned in, or sorry, the UltraHDMI turned into a cut mod instead of a no cut mod. And then I want to install the N64 digital on my other N64. Alright. Probably low enough. So the N64 Digital and the UltraHDMI are both HDMI mods for the N64, and so they basically take a digital signal off the GPU and translate it to HDMI, so you get this super clean HDMI output from the system. And then in both cases, they also have a de-blur filter that you can use. Because the N64 had kind of like anti-aliasing, but also had like sort of, it's just kind of a blur filter. And perhaps at the time it did make things look better, but it really doesn't hold up at all. And I'm just trying to line this back up so I can check my marks, because I came out of position a little bit on some of this. So this is it's soldered in. So I've actually already did the UltraHDMI previously on a previous stream, and so you can actually see this is the ribbon cable that's soldered onto the board, and some pretty fine soldering to get on the GPU. And I actually don't think that the other kit I have came with the wires that I need to solder in place for some of the features, so I'm not sure if I'll actually get to the new kit tonight. It might have to wait till tomorrow after I make a Micro Center run. But yeah, it's yeah, so I put it in an OG N64. I actually have two N64s here right now, and so one's already modded with the HDMI, and I'm just like I said, there's some stuff with the mod that I wasn't happy with the first time, so I fixed that. I'm fixing that today. If you do a no cut mod, you can't. With the UltraHDMI, if you do the no cut mod, you cannot install the RGB upgrade as well. So this, once I finish tonight, the case will be modified, but unfortunately I won't be able to test this, but it'll have composite S-Video, RGB, and HDMI output all enabled. And in theory, it'll all work, and I'm sure it all does. Even though I know that there's some challenges with the Ultra HDMI mod in terms of getting one and the communication. It is a very nice product. It's very well done. It's an older product essentially than the N64 Digital, so it's not quite as nice as that one. But I mean, you got to give the guy credit. He was the first person to do this, and it's pretty cool stuff. This is going faster than I thought it would, but not as fast as I hoped it would, of course. I'm not sure how much I can cut at it with the X-Acto knife. I also don't want to like cut myself with the X-Acto knife, because that's definitely the type of thing that I would do. I'm just going to keep filing. That does not cut that well enough. I guess if I'm impatient, I could just use the I could just grab the flush cutters and go at it, but I really don't want to do that. And the beeping is my soldering iron going into power save. Yeah, so pretty soon, it shouldn't take too much longer to file this out, because I'm getting close. And then I'll get the RGB mod on, and then I'll test it, and you'll be able to see how blocky the N64 really looks. Yeah, it's coming along though. And some things just aren't really made for filing plastic. Just about wide enough. All right, so now we are wide enough. We're not quite deep enough, which is what I want, because I'm trying to cut away as little as possible, and also want to make this as clean as possible. to where the camera can kind of see me working. It's kind of one of these things where it's like the wider the file is, the better, I think. So I'm using about the widest file I have that will work. And getting very close now. It's looking really good. It's just not quite enough yet. And if anyone's hearing random traffic noises, my window's still open because it's just a lot nicer to work on this stuff with the window open. Got to get all my mods done before winter. Oh man, it's like super, super close because I just gotta get that flush. Oh man. So John, you got big plans for the weekend? Yeah, I need to hit the gym more myself. I really want to finish my Metroid marathon, but I just have these mods sitting around waiting. Right now, find that piece. Yeah, it's not quite there yet, because what we can see is that that's got to go a little bit more so this other piece fits in. It's close, though. Yeah. Yeah, I played a little bit of Metroid Prime the other night, and I got progress made quickly, which was good, and then I got to a point where I did not have enough missiles to deal with all the Metroids. And it's just, there's this one part where it's like all of a sudden there's 4, 5, 6 Metroids. It's like, what the heck? And there's no, and if you leave the room, they all respawn. And so I just, I gave up at that point after I got killed and decided to come back when it could take some time to grab all the missiles that I need somewhere else before going back into that room. But it's like where they're experimenting on, the space pirates are like experimenting on the Metroids. So I assume it's like if anyone's watched this, it's like, oh, that's a spoiler. And the game is how many years old now? Like 15, 20 years old? Something crazy. So that was a GameCube game. So it's probably like 15 years old. It's a fun game, but man, some places just feel unfair. All right, I think this is looking really good. All right. Not, I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's looking pretty good. Let me get that in. Fits good. Yeah, so that's what we got now. So this is filed in. That should fit great. Oh, the house hunt is frustrating as usual. At this point, the house hunt is just kind of ignoring things until something comes up. But right before vacation, a house came up in the exact neighborhood we wanted, and because we have a contingency, an offer for less money was accepted over ours. So on the good news, the market seems to kind of be chilling out a bit. The bad news is we really wanted that house, and we could have offered, another 25-50,000. They probably still wouldn't have taken it because they didn't want to risk having to wait any longer than they had to for the money, it seemed like. So that was really a huge bummer. So hopefully something else will come up. There's definitely more houses coming on the market all the time now. But yeah, we'll eventually get moved. And then maybe I can have a real workshop, because I just can't put in effort into building out a full nice workshop when we're going to be moving soon, hopefully. Alright, so I'm going to remove some solder from this RGB thing before I try to reinstall it. But I do need some additional thermal protection for my desk before I do that. Gonna rosin that up a bit. Grab my desoldering wick. Grab my mask because this stuff smells. It's just so nasty to breathe in. I guess this is one positive of COVID is I have masks, so I can use them for stuff like this. One of the only positives of COVID, mind you, but alright, that is desoldered. Now, let's grab the motherboard here. Believe it just went on like let's see. I think it just went on like so, because then it bent like that and goes to the board. So I'm pretty sure that's right. I definitely should double check before I do that though. So, John, what games are you planning to play this weekend? Oh, nice. How is that game? It's another one. I think that has a co-op mode, doesn't it? Definitely one that I want to play. Okay, yep. I've double checked. Had to look at a video from Turner Cathartic. Nice. Okay, so I am installing this the right way. Let me move the X-Acto knife out of the way. I don't really have to for this, but I'll throw it on the microscope just so everyone can see me. See what I'm doing. See how badly I'm messing things up close and personal. Oh man, I've gotta finish that. Well, Replicate's the one they just re-released, right? Automata. I think it's Automata. I have not finished that yet, and I do really enjoy it, but I'm just so stuck in other things that I haven't finished it, and I really want to. I wanted to play the other one, and I just never, I wanted to play Replicant when it came out, but the US release I don't think was as good as the Japanese release. I haven't gotten to a single ending yet. Just every time I start it, something kind of comes up, and I end up doing something else. I know. There's like so much going on, and I'm so missing out. All right. I know. And I've like seen stuff that I know there's a lot that I'm missing out on. I'm just like it's just hard to get to stuff sometimes. But I'll get there. I will eventually. Maybe. Nah, I will. I definitely will. I'm absolutely going to play that game. Right. That is nice and stuck down now. I don't know, those are my best solder joints. But since I can't actually test the RGB anyway, it may not be the end of the world. They look okay. And like I said, they're probably not my best. That's okay. Soldering is done for this unit for now. Hopefully permanently done. Now I just have to get these little foam pads in place. So the no cut mod, it didn't seem like the foam pads were helpful. But with the cut mod, they definitely are necessary. Boom. Back to the desk. We're gonna put the foam pads in, and then we're going to let's see. Yeah, so we're going to put the foam pads in, and then we're going to do some testing. Just putting a piece of foam on there like it says to, and then this goes back into here, and that foam is kind of help hold things in place. And then there'll be a daughter board that goes right there for the RGB, which is not going to do that quite yet. And then, oops, just making a mess of things. There's nothing major. Okay. Then we have our stuff here where we're going to have to put another piece of foam on the AV connector. So all that stuff I was just soldering will never see the light a day again, unless I've messed up the solder, which I don't think I did. But apparently this will keep things from moving around, so that's a good thing. And then the nice thing is, with going to the cut mod, I can put this shield back. And that's definitely a nice thing. So everything should kind of come together now. We've got the daughter board here somewhere. I just misplaced stuff on my desk in real time. Sometimes I amaze myself with my ability to like misplace something right in front of me, because I know it's here right in front of me somewhere. Well, it's a good thing this is not my day job. Oh, like right there. Okay. So we've got this daughter board. And so right now I'm just plugging the RGB connector into the daughter board. Then I'll plug the daughter board into the console after I have the other part connected. There we go. This is a tricky thing to get in place, to be honest. There we go. And it bends like so. I'm just going to leave this off to the side for the moment. I'm going to, because I want to do a quick test on the HDMI before I try to close before I plug in the RGB, and then I'll do another test on the HDMI after I plug in the RGB to make sure that I haven't messed anything up. Okay. That's looking promising. I think that can just sit there for now. The microscope a bit. And I will worry about putting everything together nicely after I do this test again, because I want to make sure I didn't mess up anything along the way. So we're going to put this together, do a brief test. As I mentioned earlier, you don't want to test for too long without the shielding here, because it's a heat sink. So just going to do a brief test to make sure that it boots up and gives us HDMI still. Then I will plug in the RGB daughter board and boot it up and make sure we still have HDMI. And then once I have the heat shield on, the heat sink and shielding on again, I will check for composite and as well as the HDMI. Since, as I've mentioned, I can't do the I don't actually have a way of testing the RGB. There we go. It's promising start down here on the board. And all right, we're still got HDMI. So that's a very good thing. That's a very, very good thing. So like I said, I just can't run it for long without that shield on, so I have to turn it off immediately. And now I'm going to, I've unplugged power again. I'm actually going to unplug HDMI for a moment, but I'm leaving most of this stuff in place. So the next step here is going to be getting the little plastic thing put in place for the back cover here and getting the RGB daughter board connected, which unfortunately is easier said than done just because it's kind of an awkward, not a lot of room to work in here. It just wants to flap around down there. Okay. Try this again. There we go. That's the way it's supposed to go. And we just need to get it to actually go. Let me grab a different pair of tweezers so I don't short anything, even though I don't think I have any risk of shorting anything. Not a huge fan of this daughter board, to be honest. I might just need to pull up the HDMI adapter and hook this on and then put this back down carefully. And I'll be honest, I don't think that the RGB part is a whole lot better for ease of install for this last bit of putting things together on the N64Digital. I think the only benefit is that it's not a daughter board on that. It's baked in functionality, fully baked in. I mean, it's baked in on this too. It's just a daughter board instead of on the main board like it is, I believe, on the N64Digital. I'm hoping I'm not pulling on things too badly there. I think we're still okay. This goes there. Kind of. Get everything in place. Like, if only I had more fingers. Go. So that goes down. this goes on. That goes down. All right. We are reassembled, mostly. We're assembled to the point that we are ready to test again and verify that the RGB daughter board install doesn't break anything. Okay, so it's probably hard to see here, but there's a little signal light. So it's like the first thing I'm looking at is that the signal light does what I expect it to do, and it did. And then we've got the game going. So excellent. So now next step is starting to close this thing up, really. So we'll put the shield on. Oh, almost missed putting these back in place. These are not critical, but I still want them in place just so everything's perfect. And that, what I'm talking about here is the little grounding, the little pieces that they both, these things, these little guys function both for grounding purposes and for holding the N64 disk drive to the bottom. As I mentioned earlier, I don't have the disk drive, so it's not a big deal if I leave those out because they're only for grounding the disk drive. They're for basically grounding the module down there and holding it on both. Maybe I should say making sure it's grounded. I don't know if I will ever. I kind of think I'll get that disk drive one day, but I'm not sure. It's pretty worthless. It's really, really worthless. It's the type of thing you buy just because you really want to have all the hardware. So once I have the heat shield screwed down, we're going to test composite and HDMI both, so I make sure that before I fully close up that everything's still working, and I think it all is. It'd probably already be showing problems if it wasn't. There is some risk that that solder joint that I changed earlier has come off now that the heat shield's pressing on that cable, but oops, wrong place. But it probably is fine this time. That was the big frustration from the original install, but I think we're good this time. Once I tighten these screws down, we're in good enough shape to test everything again. And then I just had to put in a few more screws and close it up the rest of the way. And of course, we test one more time. Test. Not exactly a JUnit, but you know, it's not so hard to test a video game over and over. Alright, expansion pack goes in. HDMI is already plugged in. Plug my controller back in. Power. Game. And we're looking good. This game has great music. Oh yeah. Just look at how razor sharp those pixels are. I don't remember what the hover boots do. I know these are hover boots because I was messing with it earlier. But I don't know what they do. Can I like hover? Oh, I can hover over like bottomless pits or something. I assume I fall, yeah. I'm gonna just start this game from scratch and play it all over again at some point. I think this is the first Zelda game I actually beat. Well, I might have beat the Game Boy one first. I don't think I ever owned the Super Nintendo one, and the NES one was hard. Both of them, honestly. Oh yeah, I was gonna test composite. I am unplugging things just because I'm not set up to test composite at the in HDMI at the same time, and I don't think it really likes it if you're unplugging and replugging in HDMI all the time. But with this mod, I should be able to run both at the same time. I'll test that later when I have my switch box plugged in, but for today, I don't have the switch box, so we're just going to switch over to the RetroTink 2X real quick. Or not 2X, RetroTink Mini, that's what it is. It should work. Maybe. It doesn't seem to like that I don't have HDMI plugged into it, but that shouldn't affect the composite, but... Huh. I might have to look into that. Because it does not seem to like the composite right now. Sorry, I thought I heard someone. Of course, now it's being wonky on me. Great. There it goes. I don't know what's wrong with the composite. Honestly, as long as the HDMI is working, I'm never going to use the composite to play. So I'll worry about that another day. I'm going to close this up, do one more quick test, and then move on to the next N64, where it's going to be a full mod. Because I have not installed the HDMI mod on the other one yet. And I'm excited to see how the new one stacks up against the old one. Although there is already a good video from my life in gaming on that particular topic, I believe. But it doesn't mean I won't get to experience it firsthand. I just have to put in a few more screws. And then close up the case and we're done. Thank God. These mods are always like a little scary because if they don't work, they can be really tough to diagnose. I remember the first time it didn't work, and there were some weird things, but mostly it just came down to the power that I resoldered today wasn't staying in place, so I soldered it to an alternate point. And like I said, I might need some wiring some like just loose project wires that I don't have yet. If they didn't come with the kit, I will have to actually do the other HDMI mod tomorrow. But definitely will do it tomorrow. if at all possible, because I really want to be done with these. I have the, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, I still have a Dreamcast HDMI mod to do. And I have an original Xbox HDMI mod to do, so I really want to get done with these so I can just enjoy my HDMI mods, enjoy playing these systems, the way the makers never thought anyone would. I wonder what it's like to be one of the developers of the hardware for something like the PlayStation or the N64, and then see, here we are 20 years later, or more. When did this come out? 97, 98, something like that. And just to see that all these years later, over 20 years later, that that people are putting HDMI mods together and soldering them to the board and making these things output in a whole different way, just so they can have a great experience on new hardware, new TVs. Since a lot of this, it retains the original. If you run a 480i 480p signal into a TV, not only do modern TVs add a lot of lag, they tend to blow them up in a really blurry way, and it doesn't look good. But with these mods, you get the original glory of the pixels, and some of them even have filters so that you can, if you don't want such a blurry experience, you can use filters to, or basically to do a upscale that tries to like smooth things out. They're like smoothing filters. All right. Gotta grab my game bit to seal this thing up. The famous Nintendo game bit screws. It's hard to see on the camera. I can't focus that close. Something else that's funny to me about these old consoles is it actually says right there that this uses 19 watts. And I'm like, I think that the PS3 and possibly like the Xbox Series X use that much power on standby. They certainly use a lot. The most modern systems certainly use a lot more than 19 watts. Definitely everything PS3 and Xbox 360 and later are, 100, 200 plus watts for everything, I think. So it's just kind of, I guess, as we're trying to be environmentally friendly, it's kind of disappointing in a way that things have gone up in power so much, but for game consoles at the same time, it's just kind of crazy to look back in this day and age of 1,000-watt gaming computer PSUs and 1,000 watts required in some cases for some of these gaming rigs, that we were content playing on 19 watts of power in the 90s for our early 3D. All right, we are closed up. So hopefully last time I do this. Boom. Expansion pack in. Power. HDMI. I mean, I'll show you the... that is how it looks now with the cut mod in place. So pretty subtle, I think. I filed as little away as I could. I think I did a pretty decent job. It definitely is not the worst job I've done on something like that. Alright, plugging in the game. Help if I show the game. It is. I just find this to be so beautiful this way. See where my sister's at in the game. Wow, only 2? I thought 2 deaths, I think. Oh man, my sister didn't play this much while she was borrowing it. Oh. John, have you played this game before? Ow. I didn't get a branch off of that one. This is Ocarina of Time. Do I have to have a slingshot for that? Oh, hey, you left me a heart. Oh, man. Super Nintendo is kind of a weird one for me, because I didn't get a Super Nintendo probably until... When did I get one? I don't think I ever... I might not have ever bought my own Super Nintendo. I might have just played on my sister's. I think I did get one probably before I got the N64, and this is my original N64, and this one, I didn't look at the date this time when I was doing this, but I think my N64 is not the latest revision, but it's one of the later revisions. I got into this in like 99 or 2000. I'm going to actually plug in Majora's Mask. Like, I love this one because it's got, like, the lenticular on it, but this is the one that if this expansion pack isn't red, it won't work. It actually came with the expansion pack. Nice. It works immediately, so this is great. So let me see. So the left, right, okay, right and right. So then, so if I do that, I can go into the options on this thing, and it's on direct mode. I'm trying to remember where the, oh, here we go, the de-blur. So it might be a little hard to see, but when you switch to auto, it usually does the de-blur on everything. But you can see when I go to no, everything gets a little blurrier. It's especially noticeable up with the text. And so that's one of the things that's really nice with these, with the UltraHDMI and the N64Digital, is just getting rid of that blurriness. It makes it so much nicer on modern TVs. I've actually played quite a bit of Conker's Bad Fur Day since this mod, and I love it. I don't remember what the heck I'm doing as a Goron, though. this is my save. I never beat Majora's Mask. It was a tough game. At least for my high school brain. Or college brain, or whatever it was. Alright. I'm actually gonna leave. I'm actually gonna go back to Ocarina of Time while I go check to see if my kit for the other mod has the wires I need. Because the other mod, unfortunately, needs 2 or 3 wires run, or it doesn't work, I believe. Or I'm at least going to have to reopen it and do more soldering, which I really don't want to have to reopen. I'm pretty sure this did not come with just generic wire. Nope. That's going to make it not great to install, because it won't be able to read the controller to do the menu so I can set everything up. So unfortunately, I lied. I'm not doing the N64Digital install today, but I think I'll be able to get to Micro Center without a problem tomorrow, and I'll grab the wire I need, and I will do it tomorrow night. But it is 12:30 a.m. here, so I think... I don't know. I don't really want to go to bed yet, but I don't think I'm going to do Metroid Prime either. I'm tempted to just stop the stream and restart it with if it makes your choice easy. It just means I'll probably just go play games by myself instead of streaming, because I'm actually playing I won't stop the stream. I'm just gonna find where I set my other controller down. There we go. I'm actually playing Hyrule Warriors on Definitive Edition on Switch currently. And okay. This game has been let's probably turn down too much. This game has been pretty entertaining. It's basically Dynasty Warriors. If you haven't played it, it's basically like Dynasty Warriors in the Zelda universe. And you get giant bomb chews in a couple levels, which are kind of cool too. So yeah, I'm probably just gonna go play this for tonight. It's such a big difference though to go from, you know, here's Link in the latest this isn't the latest Zelda game. This is actually basically an HD re-release of one of the, I think it was a Wii U game originally. So, but here's Link, and I'm getting attacked. I'm gonna pause for a moment, and I have a remote here. There we go. So that's Link on Switch, and then you've got, N64. So this is how far we've come. Even though you don't see Link right this moment. There we go. Yep, that's how far we've come. Can't even see his face. Oh yeah, there's Sheik. Man. I do have a lot of fun with the Zelda games. Anyway, thanks for watching. I think I'm going to call it a night. At least this was a success. I got the wiring cleaned up. It looks like the RGB is installed correctly. The composite, if the composite's not working, I'm not too worried about it. I will test RGB once I have a way of testing it, and I'll make sure it's working and fix it if it's not. But I suspect the RGB is working and the composite's probably just a little wonky from the RGB mod, and that's okay. But again, thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great night, and I will see everyone tomorrow.